A World Series of Poker bracelet. It's what every player strives for, what every player dreams of. Tonight, 9 players battle for the first bracelet of 2011. For one, the dream will become a reality. They fought through circuit events around the country, at regional final tables all over the nation. Now, at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, the long and brutal road comes to an end. It's the World Series of Poker National Championship. Welcome to Las Vegas and the World Series of Poker National Championship presented by AMP Energy. Tonight at Caesars Palace, a champion will be crowned. Ali Najad and bracelet winner Antonio Esfandiari joining you along with the top 5 guys in chips. Let's take a look. Jonathan Poche, the chip leader. La Sengfet, the only female to make a regional or national championship final table. Adam Hui tortures himself in his spare time by rooting for the Detroit Tigers. Jim Anderson won the regional championship in Hammond. And 26-year-old professional Josh Evans, 5th in chips. Only 100 players qualified for this $1 million free roll, and just 9 remain at our final table. Poche, of course, leading the way with a huge chip lead. Only 9th place Woody Moore is in real danger. He's got 13 big blinds. Antonio, what are you looking for from Poche and from Moore?
Well, Poche should keep the pressure on all the other stacks. He's got the chip lead by more than double. And Moore, with the short stack, is looking to get it all in pretty quick here. He's only got 13 big blinds to go.
La Sengfet takes a look at King 10 offsuit. Dallas native, former poker dealer.
10,500.
Says gambling's in her makeup. She actually was playing blackjack at the age of 15 on a fake ID. Since moving to poker, she's done pretty well for herself. Got 2 World Series of Poker circuit rings. And Matt Lawrence has 2 jacks. Sengfet made it 10,500 to go.
28.
And Lawrence is 3-betting to 28 even.
28,000.
Lawrence is committing himself by putting 20% of his stack in the pot.
Speaking of commitments, Woody Moore just put 28 of his 65,000 into the pot with ace-10 suited.
If I must say so, I think that's a terrible play. What is he trying to do? See a flop and get away from it once he has half his stack in the pot? It's either all in or fold.
And I think both of us would be leaning fold in that particular spot with an under-the-gun raiser and a 3-better in front of us.
My ace-10 suited is in the muck.
La Sengfet's King 10 offsuit is not in the muck. She calls 17,500.
Even though Sengfet is getting almost 5-1 on her call, I don't like it. She's got King 10 offsuit out of position. She could get herself in a lot of trouble.
The law tells us ever since grade school, she's never let anyone bully her, and that has carried over to the felt. 7-high flop.
Check.
Sengfet knuckles. You don't mind staring at that board with 2 jacks.
I'm all in.
Check.
Lawrence checks, and now Moore is shipping it. Certainly didn't expect that.
Don't like it, Woody.
Sengfet's out of the way.
What does he not like?
I don't either.
Matt must be thinking Woody smooth called with a big pair.
Call on the table, seat 1, Woody Moore from Las Vegas.
Nonetheless, Lawrence has made the call, and he'll be happy to find out he's up against a naked ace high.
Ace of diamonds, 10
170,000 in the middle. Matt Lawrence just needs to dodge an ace. That's the only way that Woody Moore can make the best hand on the turn.
Good call.
That's exactly what they did last year at the ladies event.
Well, that card gives Woody a few more outs.
3. Made it 3.
4 extra outs never hurts.
All right. Ace.
3 would give Moore a wheel.
Ace.
Instead, it's the ace.
Makes a double up for Woody Moore.
God.
Woody Moore looking up to the sky as if to say thank you.
Aces over jacks.
Bit of a different feeling over in Camp Lawrence. And for Woody Moore, apparently the poker gods do exist as he continues his run in this national championship. Tonight is the culmination of a long journey. 1 year, 49,453 players, 15 circuit stops, and 4 regional championships. And Now we're left with a $1 million free roll and a bracelet to the winner. Hard to imagine that if Matt Lawrence would have bet the flop in that last pot, things wouldn't have turned out differently.
I thought his check on the flop was horrific. Why give a free card? I mean, unless he knows that Moore is going to bet the flop, he has to bet. And if he's checking, he's trying to trap Moore, and that's not obviously his intention because he almost didn't want to call.
Fine.
2 jacks again, this time for Jim Anderson. You like having big hands on the button?
It's great having big hands on the button because people open so light on the button that, you know, when you wake up with a hand, no one puts you on a big hand.
Ace-9 suited for Matt Lawrence in the small blind.
Long.
And he's going to ship in his remaining $67,000.
At 11,500 hand.
I agree with this play.
Okay, all in and a call.
Of course, Jim Anderson makes the call after Woody Moore gets out of the way.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, making the call in seat number 8.
And he'll be a better than 2-1 favorite heading to the flop against Matt Lawrence. Things are not looking good for him.
Yes, I know. I thought the same thing.
He's gone from having 2 jacks to facing elimination at the hands of them, and top set on the flop for Jim is going to spell the end unless Matt can hit a running 10-8.
Yeah.
Well, there's the 10. Hang on a second.
Yeah. I wasn't talking to you. Deserve that. Of course.
Oh, this would be a real dirty 8 on the river if it hit.
As dirty as it gets.
It's the ace. One pair not going to cut it. And Matt Lawrence, in the matter of 2 quick hands, has been dispatched in 9th place. Not exactly what he had in mind when he pulled into the valet today. He might still have his car up front.
All right, I'm going to be asking you a series of questions, and I'd like you to answer me very truthfully. Are you a woman?
Of course I'm a woman.
He's telling the truth. He really is a woman.
Good at bluffing? Play poker online at partypoker.com. It's fun, it's easy, it's the world's largest poker room.
So, what are you doing later?
Building a shed.
Welcome back to Caesars Palace, home of the World Series of Poker National Championship presented by Amp Energy. We've seen final tables where the players feel each other out. A little how you doing, a little nice to see you, but not here. We had an all-in on hand number 1 and an elimination right after that. Fast and furious, buddy.
About as fast as it gets.
600 people for the first event, and they had to turn away 300 people. It was a limit hold'em, $1,500.
Folded around to Jim Anderson, who just picked up that big pot. He's now up to almost $290,000 in chips.
Our tables.
Wow.
And people were buying in for almost $3,000. They were paying double to try to get in. It's crazy. Now, the limit is like you can get into any tournament. The limit.
Oh, yeah. Right. But the World Series is pretty good in the limit.
Woody Morris turned this final table into story time. Adam Huey, in the meanwhile, has turned this into a play for 10-5 pot.
I love it. That's where I play online.
Popping it on the button.
Yeah, but that's the only play.
2 aces for Jonathan Poche.
Yeah.
3 if you count the 1 on his hat. That's a pre-flop set, my friend. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen that in Hold'em.
Re-raise. Never have it.
Poche's not going to get sneaky. He's going to 3-bet to 28,000.
And I wouldn't get sneaky either. He's in the big blind. The button opened for a raise. Why not 3-bet? He would do this with any 2 cards.
Oh.
Adam Huey knows that. So he plops an extra 17.5 into the middle, bringing the pot to over 62,000. Uh-oh.
How do you spell trouble?
Ace, King, Jack. That's how you spell it. Top set for Poche, who leads out. Bottom 2 pair for Adam. And it's tough to see a way out for Adam Huey.
I would be amazed if he could get away from this.
Started the pot with just over 220 in chips. And he raises to 67,000. Poche insta-shipping it, and Adam makes the call. You can tell he wasn't pleased.
Moving all in, Jonathan Poche.
Gets a look at the bad news, and the writing really was on the wall as soon as the flop hit.
All in, Adam Hui from Markham, Ontario,
This is a
Canada.
monster pot, 460,000 plus.
Two pair on the flop. Ace of spades, jack of
That's
spades.
almost a quarter of all the chips in play. And for Hui to have any shot at dragging him in his direction, he's going to need some runners.
That would be a good one.
7 of clubs is not a runner. Adam Hui drawing dead.
5 of clubs.
And we've lost another one. Little bit of a cooler there for Adam Hui. Can't blame him for saying goodbye with that hand. He's going to pick up $35,000 for his efforts. And if you're a math whiz, you'll notice the total prize money doesn't add up to $1 million. That's because 10th place paid $27,500. Let's check in with Adam.
On the flop, I was actually kind of scared of getting it in there just because it was such a wet board. But me and John have played a while, and we have a lot of dynamics from yesterday, and he's had position on me the whole time. So it's kind of hard for me to be able to fold that kind of hand there in that spot against a button versus big blind situation.
Adam earned his seat into this event by winning the best all-around player race at the World Series of Poker circuit event right here at Caesars in April. That's how he qualified, and we saw how he just got disqualified.
Not so pretty there. He couldn't really get away from it. It was a tough spot.
No, it's just such a sick feeling, though.
What can you do? That's poker.
You love the pain.
I love the pain. I love to deliver the pain.
Raise 11,000.
Delivery is always better than receiving.
I wish it was possible to just deliver and not receive, but unfortunately, poker is not set up in that way.
10-9 suited for Woody Moore. He makes it 11,000 to go. And did we shuffle this deck? Aces again for Jonathan Poche.
Must be nice.
I'm starting to get the feeling that he's chip leader for a reason, and it's not just skill.
Getting aces helps.
Re-raise 28,000.
Makes it 28,000 again. Josh Evans lays down over to La Seng Fetch. He's going to muck as well. Back to Woody, 17 more. And he makes the call.
What you got, buddy? 1,200?
About 180.
No.
Paired flop. Moore hits his 9 and leads right into the 3-better.
He flopped 2-pair. He thinks his 9 is good, and he's going to go with it. I mean, if you put over 20% of your stack in, and you have a short stack, and you flop 2-pair, you're probably going to go with it.
Poche smooth calls, giving Woody some rope.
Perhaps he is not giving him rope because he thinks that Moore could have a king. Either way, calling with aces is always correct on that board.
Okay.
Moore fires another quarter. There's really no card on the turn that's going to hit that Poche's going to fold to.
None whatsoever.
9 probably wouldn't be his favorite, but
that would be the worst card for Poche.
And a call.
He smooth calls once more. Woody doesn't have a whole lot left. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Woody Moore hit the miracle ace to stay alive, and he has just hit the miracle 9 to fill up. He's shaking his head.
And he checks. He's worried that Poche could have been fighting him with a king.
Jonathan's going to put Woody all in.
I call.
Aces.
Huh?
Aces.
I don't know if that bet is correct. What is he going to get called with? What could Moore possibly call with? Jacks or queens? Don't you think he would have heard about jacks or queens pre-flop?
100,000 with the bid.
Well, if results are the barometer, then Moore played that one perfectly.
Nice hand.
Caesars Palace is the home of champions, and the only regional champion to make it to this final table was Jim Anderson, who took down Gabe Patgorski and Hammond on his way to over $500,000.
I'm Jim Anderson. I'm from Berea, Ohio. I've been playing poker for 7-8 years. I played the 10K and was fortunate enough to win that event.
Jim Anderson is your Midwest regional champion.
Ended up investing in a house in Berea, Ohio. It's kind of surprising that I was the only survivor out of those 4 championships because those fields are extremely tough and a lot of good players made it through. The ring, I show it to a couple people here and there. I have it stored in a safe right now. If I win this bracelet, I might get a mantle or something and store them up there.
I'm sure it's a beautiful house, and I'm no realtor, but I'm not certain that you can call home purchases in the Ohio region investments in this market.
Still probably better than Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right. La Sengfet looking at ace-7. She won't invest.
That's scary.
She did spend some good money on that Mavericks hat, though. Her team taking down the NBA Finals this season.
It's still about 80 or something. Still get a little chunk.
Woody scared me.
Raise 37,000.
Big slick for Woody Moore. He's back in the saddle. 37-5 is the raise.
A lot of big hands late on the button and the blinds.
Dražen Ilić, who has yet to play a hand here at the final table, has a couple of threes.
Like I said, I may not make the break.
Ilić only has about 92,000 behind.
Come on.
And he's going to put it out there. Snap call from Woody. We're racing.
It's a coin flip. Classic confrontation. I like Illich's play.
He's got the better side of the coin right now.
Dražen Ilić showing up.
And he had fold equity making the move.
He certainly didn't want a smooth call.
Absolutely not. You either ship it or fold.
King of diamonds.
In hindsight, a smooth call might have allowed him to get away from this particular flop, but it wouldn't have afforded him the fold equity that you spoke of. King high board. Woody now has the best hand. A close call on the turn, and Ilić has 2 outs to stay alive. Not looking good for him. Another deuce on the river.
Kings and deuces.
Dražen Ilić is eliminated in 7th place. While Woody Moore picks up another bundle of chips, Dražen will earn $42,500 on the evening. We're only a few hands in, but it's been quite a ride for Woody Moore. He's chopping away at Jonathan Poche's chip lead after that miraculous suck out on hand 1. Currently, he's in 2nd place. Sam Barnhart on the short stack.
That's the plan for now.
Button on Woody Moore here. Poche and Evans in the blinds. Sengfet under the gun. She lays down over to Sam Barnhart, who qualified into the event by winning the circuit event in Tunica. That was good for almost $150,000.
Raise it up. 11,500.
Sam makes it 11-5 to go. Over to Jim Anderson's 8-6 suited. Not sure what he's thinking about.
He's thinking that Barnhart has 180,000 and it's hard for him to call a 3-bet without a premium hand.
16,500.
Jim is 3-betted. Woody's going to burn some time with 5-6 offsuit on the button.
Little Hollywood there.
Poche and Evans go away from the blinds, and it's back over to Sam's deuces. This would be the argument against raising an early position with these small pairs.
You're just looking to get yourself in trouble, and I don't like this call. He's only got 180,000 to start the hand. If he doesn't hit a deuce, he's in trouble.
How about 2 deuces? Quadzilla on the flop for Sam Barnhart. You can't script it much better than that. Nothing happening for Jim Anderson other than the opportunity to continuation bet.
Did you see that stare down?
Yeah, love it. Twice now.
Call.
Call.
Will Anderson fall for it?
Sam calling the 25,000 chip bet. Jack on the turn changes absolutely nothing. Second check from Sam and the second barrel from Jim. Small one, 27-5.
It's hard to call for Barnhart if he doesn't have a real hand here.
47,500.
Anderson putting pressure on the short stack, not knowing he has quads.
I'm all in.
Clear, declared all in.
I don't like this all in. Why take away Anderson's bluff factor on the river? If he has an overpair, he's going to bet the river for value anyway. So why take away his chance of bluffing again?
Barnhart being a little over-enthusiastic. Let's take a look at how the regional championships went down. In Atlantic City, Chris Bell defeated Chris Klodnicki, good for over $350K. There's the Hammond Final 9, which of course Jim Anderson took down. Bernard Lee in 3rd there. In Rincon, high-stakes pro Ali Islami used pocket aces to get by Tim West. And in New Orleans, A.J. Jejelowo steamrolled the final table to his first major victory.
I'm sure we'll see some.
Blinds are up now to 3 and 6,000 with a 1K ante.
Hopefully at the final table.
Yes. Of the main event. How about
Napkins for Barnhart and Anderson. Both find their way to the muck.
What's the main
Ace 9 on the button for Woody.
What's the main event?
10th place. That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Makes it 17,000.
You and I battled pretty big.
O'Shea calls from the small blind with 10-7 suited.
You know that I don't like calling out of position with these kinds of hands. I either 3-bet or I fold.
O'Shea might have revenge on his mind. These are the two big stacks at the table. 4, 5, 6. O'Shea with the open ender. Or is ace high still the best hand?
Check, check.
Both players knuckle. Ace on the turn. Or's now got a pair.
And he checks behind. I don't like this check. Why give your opponent a free card? There's too many cards that can put a scary river on the board.
You mean like the 3 of diamonds?
Exactly like the 3 of diamonds.
I call.
Straight. O'Shea making a straight on the river, betting 29,000 and getting snap called by Woody Moore. And that's a little bit of sweet revenge for the chip leader.
Moore costing himself the pot by not betting the turn and giving his opponent a free card.
Caesars Palace Las Vegas is luxury at its finest. The majestic resort is famous worldwide for its magnificent beauty. 26 impressive restaurants, sprawling gardens and pools, and countless opportunities to relax. The World Series of Poker National Championship presented by AMP Energy continues from Caesars Palace Las Vegas. First time for this event, first time a bracelet is awarded. How heavily does that factor into your head, the hardware?
The hardware means a lot. I mean, it's every poker player's dream to have a World Series of Poker bracelet. You know, you have it for the rest of your life, and no one can take it away from you. Unless you go broke and sell it on eBay.
Can I find yours on eBay, or...?
No, I follow the Anderson style. I put it in my safe, I lock it up, and I'll never get rid of it.
You don't wear it? You don't wear it at the poker table?
I wore it the day I won it, and I'll never wear it again.
Why is that?
I think it's tacky to wear your bracelet. You're kind of saying, I'm good, I'm cool, I want a bracelet, so here you go.
But it also sends a message to the players at the table that you're the real deal.
I don't think they need to see my bracelet to know that I'm the real deal.
All right, here we go. Sam Barnhart has made it 3 times the big blind with ace-king. That's the real deal. Jim Anderson's deal not quite as real with ace-7, but he's going to defend nonetheless. Blind versus blind confrontation, and that's a bad flop for Jim. He's got aces, but so does Barnhart with the better kicker. Sam's going to lead out for 20,000.
Definitely an unfortunate spot for Anderson, blind versus blind. It's going to be hard to get away from.
Anderson is called to 20,000. Barnhart adds a Broadway draw to the resume on the turn. You can see by the percentages, you don't want to be in Anderson's corner here. Just 7% to make the best hand. Sam fires 50,000. Well, Jim's got a decision.
It's a tough decision. He does have top pair. His kicker doesn't play, but nonetheless, he does have position, and there is a chance that his opponent is bluffing.
Anderson pays to take a look at the river, which is no help to his hand. Barnhart ships it. Feels like it might be a little reckless.
Slightly. He didn't get raised on the flop or the turn, so he doesn't put his opponent on 2 pair. He thinks his ace-king is the best hand, and he's going with it.
Looking pretty comfortable. No snap call is always a good sign.
I don't see how Anderson could call.
And in fact, he does lay it down. It feels like Anderson had his mind made up about what he would do on the river after he called the 50,000 on the turn in case Sam did put the big bet out there.
By calling 50 on the turn, he basically lets his opponent know that he has a hand and could quite possibly call the river, making it very difficult for his opponent to put the last barrel in.
Well, Anderson has slipped into 6th place, while Barnhart has over 400,000 and sits in 2nd. Jim always seemed to have the best of it when we were in Hammond, Indiana, but certainly not the case here. Barnhart pitches his 8-deuce off. Couple of 10s for Anderson. He's right back in the swing of things, makes it 14,000 to go. Chip leader on the button with king 8 off.
Re-raise.
And he's got an idea, makes it 37,000 to go.
37.
Over to Josh Evans. He's got ace 8 off. Not much of a decision. La Sengfet has a similarly easy situation on her hands. Lays down the jack 6, and it's back over to Jim.
You have to make these kind of plays in order to win tournaments. Granted, his opponent has pocket tens, not the best spot, but a lot of times people open light, and you have to steal these pots.
Jim has moved all in for 147 total. That's another 110 to call. No chance Poche calls. Lays it down and gives Jim a small rebate on the chips he dusted off to Sam just a hand to go.
That was regional north against the south, I guess.
Poche from Louisiana. Anderson, of course, from Ohio. Button on La Sengfet. Barnhart and Anderson in the blinds. Haven't seen much from La so far at the final table.
Not much at all.
She's one of only 2 women who played in this particular event. Managed to make her way to the final table. Not bad. Also not bad are 2 kings. That's what Josh Evans is looking down at. Finally has something worth getting into a pot with. Made it 16,000 to go. Gets past the button, now over to the blinds. 1 down. 1 to go, and it's Anderson with ace-10 suited. It is a late raise from Evans.
It is, but Evans hasn't been very active, so Anderson knows that going into the pot. He wanted to 3-bet. Folding was never an option for him. He decided to call and take a flop.
Anderson puts in the extra 10,000, and something tells me he's not too mad at that flop.
Gin.
Ace is full of 10s for Jim, who checks, and Evans checks behind.
As he should. There's really no bad card on the turn. He's got 2 kings. He is potentially up against an ace. Why build a bigger pot than he needs to?
And Jim is going to fire 19,000 on the turn. He's all done slow playing. Evans, of course, isn't going to be able to simply muck the kings, and he calls 19,000. 3rd club on the river. Doesn't feel like either player has represented a flush draw at any point.
There's a chance that Anderson could have led the turn with a flush draw, hoping his opponent had nothing.
Call.
Jim bets 46,000 on the river and gets called by Josh. And
wow, good hand.
Unlucky situation for him.
You got to give it to Evans. He lost the absolute minimum.
Wow.
In seat number 8, Jim Anderson from Ohio has ace.
That look says it all for Josh Evans. He waited all this time to pick up a big hand, and when he finally did, it just ended up costing him. Ace, ace, 10, huh, Jimmy? Must be nice. Back at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas for more of the World Series of Poker National Championship presented by Amp Energy. Jonathan Poche is leading this final table, but no one has asserted themselves as the player to beat just yet.
My pick is to always go with the aggressive players, and today it looks like Poche and Anderson seem to be just that.
Folded the La Seng Fed. She's got a suited connector. It takes discipline when you fold round after round after round to look down at a hand like this and then put another fold in.
In her defense, she hasn't had much to play with.
You did have an ace-7 in somewhat late position at one point, but that's not your favorite.
Not my favorite, but I have been known to play it from time to time.
Speaking of been known to play it, Jim Anderson with ace-10 just before the break picked up that huge pot, and he likes the looks of it here, 3-betting on the button to 38,000.
I like this. It kind of puts Sengfet in a tight spot. She's out of position. Unless she has a super primo hand, she's not going to go for the re-raise.
Re-raise.
You were saying, my friend?
I take that back. Sengfet's got a little action to her, a little gamble. I like that.
76,000 total is the raise.
And this is kind of a small raise. Anderson almost always has to call here with position.
I'm all in.
All in bet.
You were saying, my friend?
I mean, do I know how to play poker or what? I called everything wrong on this one.
Anderson makes it 282 and Sengfet folds. And
that was a very deep, high-level play by Anderson. I mean, she hasn't been active at all. She just 4-bet him, and he's got the courage to ship it all in. Great play by Anderson. A lot of heart.
Well, it worked out. Maybe he picked up on something. You could always look at that and say overplay.
I mean, it was a genius play. Had she had 2 aces, slight overplay. But she didn't. She had the 8 high, and Anderson made a great read. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Sam Barnhart looks at King Deuce. Returns it to sender, and 2 queens for Jim Anderson. He's heating up.
Raise to 14,000.
Makes it 14,000 to go. Another King Deuce, this time suited. And in the hands of chip leader Jonathan Poche on the button. And he's smooth calling.
As he grabbed his chips, I thought he was going to go for the 3-bet. He's got the button. He has King Deuce suited. I don't like to play this hand and call with it. I either re-raise or I just fold.
With fold being the better of the 2 options, right? I mean,
not necessarily. There's something to be said about 3-betting because people's opening ranges have widened up so much that nowadays it's completely okay to 3-bet that on the button.
Las Sengfet has joined the party for an extra 8K. The flop, Jack 9-10 with a couple of clubs. Anderson still with the best hand. He's added an open ender. Poche has picked up the second nut flush draw with a gut shot.
Something tells me we're going to see some action.
2 checks in front of Jonathan. He's reaching. 51,000 in the middle, and he's going to fire 29 into it.
Anderson going for the check raise, I assume.
It is a very wet board, though.
It is, but he's got blockers, he's got an overpair, and he's got a straight draw.
Oh.
Anderson ends up just calling. Very safe-looking turn card hits the board. Jim checks once more. Jonathan seems all too eager to reach for some more chips. Barrel number 2 seems imminent.
Barrel with outs.
Very different than an empty barrel, of course.
Absolutely. It's always nice to barrel and then bink it on the river.
69,000 is the bet.
Call.
Anderson makes the call, and that's a very safe river card for his hand.
Anderson's dream card. Any 2-pair variation that Poche has is now counterfeited.
247,000 in the middle. Anderson checks a 3rd time over to Poche. And he knows King High's probably not going to win this thing, so he fires 110,000.
He has to fire. He got himself in the spot, and his only out is to fire his way out. And I don't see it working.
Anderson did lay down the river against Barnhart. He held ace-7 against Barnhart's ace-king.
I call. You call.
That was a different situation, though, and he makes the call here. Sure feels like the wheels are coming off the Poche bus. 467,000. Heading over to Jim Anderson.
Better pair, plus you have.
That was a stinger. Had Anderson gone for the check raise on the flop or potentially let it the flop, they are very likely to have gotten all in, and he could have doubled up.
So Jim Anderson now finding himself back in some familiar territory at the top of the chip count after being on the short stack. That huge pot puts him in the lead and moves Poche into 5th. Quite a fall for the overwhelming chip leader at the start of play tonight. Antonio, let's revisit that last hand quickly. Was it the right time for a 3-barrel bluff?
It's never the right time to 3-barrel bluff when it doesn't work.
You're being a little results-oriented tonight, my friend.
Well, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't have played the hand the way he did to start. I wouldn't have ever put myself in that situation. However, had a club come, he could have won a very big pot, so...
And that illustrates something in poker that people that are new to the game need to be mindful of. One mistake can create several more behind it,
Absolutely.
And then you end up in serious trouble.
You put yourself in these situations where you're forced to 3-barrel.
Speaking of situations, Josh Evans finds himself all in after re-raising Jonathan Poche. Poche makes the call with King-Jack off suit.
In his defense, it is blind versus blind. Evans really hasn't gotten out of line, so perhaps maybe the King-Jack is a little too loose. It's a pretty big pot. It's most of his stack. He could be crippled here.
Here comes the flop. There's a 4 right there in the middle, giving Josh Evans bottom set. Jonathan Poche is looking like he's going to double up Josh Evans unless he can hit a runner on the turn. No dice. The 8 of spades seals the pot for Josh Evans. He'll count it down and end up dragging in 312,000. Jonathan Poche is in a tailspin.
1, 2, 3.
We're going to take a quick break and see if he can pull things together. And during that time, Josh Evans will stack some chips. One of the most famous aerial views in the world, the Las Vegas Strip. Players from all over the country came to Caesars Palace to compete in the national championship, and we took a second to ask them how poker styles vary by region.
People in the South, they just like to play aggressively.
I think they play more aggressive in the West.
In the Midwest, it's a little, I don't know, a little tighter. I feel like the worst players come from the East Coast. You have to adapt to every place that you go to.
And of the places that you've been to, where do you find the toughest players?
Mostly in Europe. They're so aggro from Northern Europe. It's incredible.
Northern Europe specifically, huh? Scandinavia?
If you're Scandinavian and you're young and you need a tan, it is incredible how aggressive they play. It's just total profile.
No sunlight for most of the year. They're inside grinding away online, huh?
Raise for 21,000.
Well, I'm looking at La Sengfet's bio here. I do not see any Scandinavian countries in her background, but she's raising it up with 7 deuce offsuit. Jim Anderson with a real hand.
4,000.
Comes over the top to 54.
I understand Sengfet has been card dead and whatnot. And, you know, that's irritating at the final table. But to finally decide to play a hand and bring it in with a 7 deuce offsuit.
A lot different than the 7-8 suited she got pushed off of by Anderson earlier.
Did she just call?
I believe she did. That's an extra 33,000 she's put into the pot. What is going on? Apparently a full house is what's going on for La Sengfet. 7-7 deuce on the board. Disaster for Jim Anderson. Can't blame him for reaching in and putting 63,000 into the pot on the continuation bet. He's drawing virtually dead here.
This was a horrific call pre-flop by Sengfet. I understand she has position, but she has the worst hand in poker. Why put yourself in these spots?
Because you're going to flop a full house.
Now, if you can see the future, more power to you.
And clearly, she's going to smooth call, not lose her man. Almost 250 in the middle, 5 on the turn, changes nothing for Anderson.
Check.
He shuts it down.
But checks.
Sengfet checks behind, giving him some rope. And he hits a king on the river. This could be dirty.
Curious to see if he bets or checks.
Check.
Apparently he's going to check, and Sengfet insta-ships. 152,000 to call.
I will give Anderson a lot of credit if he's able to get away from this hand. She either has a 7 or she's bluffing and missed a flush draw. There's no other option.
Yeah. 152. Huh?
And from the looks of her, she's nervous. I see the chest heaving, and Anderson pays off.
7-2. From seat number 6, Dallas, Texas.
Apparently, La's Honey Bunny is pretty proud of her on the rail over there. And
7 deuce offsuit.
La's collecting cash from the rail.
They must have had a 7 deuce side bet.
Apparently, the bills are rolling in.
Give me my dollar.
You would think that La Sengfet's focus would be more on this pot getting counted down and pushed in her direction.
75, 100.
Oh. It's only $1 million final table.
I just made $18 more.
For La Sengfet with her 7 deuce bonus, it's...
Sometimes in a tournament, you're going to get low on chips. Gotta push them all in to stay alive. And then, you wait. Are you ready for tournament poker? At the world's largest poker site, PokerStars.com.
Blinds have gone up to 5 and 10,000, and La Sengfet's stack has gone up to the top of the leaderboard. He's the chip leader, Woody Moore.
40.
Raise to 40,000.
Currently sitting on 233,000. That's good for 5th in chips. He's made it 40,000 to go with Ace Jack. Jonathan Poche on the short stack pushes in with King Queen.
Poche shipping it in with the King Queen here. Moore's range is wide. Moore is on the tighter side slightly. However, given the chip stacks, I like Poche's all-in.
La Sengfet's got a decision with her pocket 8s, and apparently it's to lay them down.
And I don't think it's much of a decision at all. There's a raise and a re-raise to her. She's got a pair of 8s. She could be crushed. I think it's a muck.
Well, I'm going to flip the cougar in and see what it says.
Woody Moore is going to flip a coin to make up his mind. It's 160 plus for him to call.
Tails, but I'm not going to. Okay.
Coin says call, but Woody goes against the grain.
Huh? You didn't tell us what meant what.
What?
You didn't say what was what. Like,
oh, I always go with tails.
So you go with tails and you go with heads?
Yeah.
Woody laid down the best hand.
At least I get to look and see if I had you.
Time now for the Amp Energy hand of the day, and it was an obvious choice. La Sangfet's 7-deuce up against Jim Anderson's Ace-King. Rocket Fuel up against some low octane. Played to perfection and flopped to perfection. A slide turn check by La earned her an extra $152,000 on the river when a king gave Anderson 2 pair. For her unusual play with 7-deuce, Sangfet earns the Amp Energy hand of the day. You ever had anyone stuff the old 7-deuce down your throat in a tournament at a final table, my friend?
That I have not, actually. I have in a cash game where we play for 7-deuce for extra money on the side.
Well, that's to be expected, though.
But not in a tournament.
Well, La was playing for a little extra money on the side. Remember, she's banked $18 for the effort. 2 queens for Anderson. He makes it $23,000. Woody's got big slick.
63.
He's going to put another 40 on top. 63,000 total. Three folds around to Sam Barnhart. Takes his time before looking at his hand and laying it down.
Anderson making sure there are still a couple of ladies under there. Nope, and there are.
I'm all in.
I call.
All in bet. Call.
All the chips have hit the middle here. Anderson has Woody Moore covered.
Jim Anderson from Ohio, seat number 8, chose pocket queen.
He's currently got the edge with pocket queens.
Las Vegas showing ace king.
Huh? Got him by a lot.
Jim's hand is vulnerable, though.
Yeah, but he didn't have 2 of them.
All it takes is an ace or a king to put Woody in the lead. Will he connect on the flop? He will not. The Broadway draw is no good. Queen would give Anderson a full house on the paired flop.
4 of clubs on the turn.
No ace or a king on the turn.
Looks slim.
Woody doesn't have the flush draw, loses 2 of his outs. And another 4 on the end gives the pot to Jim Anderson. And marching orders to Woody Moore.
Enjoyed it. Give a nice round of applause for Woody Moore from Las Vegas.
Woody Moore certainly rode the roller coaster, but couldn't catch a Miracle River this time around. He works his way up to 6th place, but the run ends there. La Sangfet, the surprising chip leader, courtesy of some guts and, of course, a little luck. Hammond Regional Championship winner Jim Anderson in 2nd. But let's check in with Woody Moore.
Miraculously, I was very, very fortunate. Yes, I got lucky there in the beginning, and then I just went card dead the very last, and I got ace-king. It looked like 2 aces, and thought it was a time to put it in. There's some good circuit players that are going to make a major stand at the World Series this year. You'll watch and see.
The final table started off with a bang.
How do you do it?
Clean living.
Sending 3 players to the rail before their seats were even warm. Woody Moore ran out of miracles and finished 6th. Now there are just 5 players remaining. 5 tough challengers, each with their eyes on a World Series of Poker bracelet.
I'm all in.
Who will leave with a new piece of gold jewelry? Find out when the World Series of Poker National Championship continues. For Antonio Esfandiari, I'm Ali Najad. We'll see you next time from Caesars Palace, Las Vegas.